Busy working, trying to clean the glass with some vinegar. And once we get that, we're going to tape it off and we're going to pressure wash the whole thing because it's just gross and it's a lot of paint chipping here. So we get some of the chipped paint off. So there you go.
Here I'm setting up to get the piece of furniture in the right position. This is an eco-friendly stripper that I found, and it's a citrus base. It's a bit tedious because you have to put a lot of coverage on it. So there is I think I did 5 times the stripping on every surface on this with this orange citrus stripper. And I'll show you what it is. The problem was that there were, I think, 5 coats of paint on this. At least there were green, white, beige, black. There might have been another coat of white. I don't remember all of them, but there were quite a few. So when I did it, it was a lot of work. Anyway, you can see that citrus stripper in the lower left. I'll insert a picture to show you what it is. Here I've slowed the view down just a bit so you can kind of see what the surface looks like. I know it's a little blurry as I pan across, but you can see it bubbles up, and it does actually get to the paint. So there are quite a few different layers that the stripper had to go over. There is another type of stripper you can use. You would have to use it outside, but it will cut through everything the first try. I just didn't want to use it because it wasn't really eco-friendly, and I am very cautious about chemicals, especially in the studio. So there you go. So whenever I'm working in the studio around chemicals, I definitely want to protect my hands, and I use these gloves. They're not latex, I don't believe. I'm not allergic to latex, but I generally get what is it, nitrile? I don't know exactly how you pronounce it, but anyway, these gloves help protect me, and even though it is an eco-friendly stripper, it's still kind of a chemical that I don't want in my body. And then secondarily, the paint, because this unit, the cabinet, is so old, there's a strong possibility the paint has lead in it, and I don't want that on my hands. So I used the gloves every time I was scraping, and now it's on the phone. So anyway, yeah, lots of elbow grease on this cabinet, and I went over this, like I said, about 5 or 6 times with that stripper, and I could have used the harsher chemical that they have, which will take everything off in one shot, but I didn't want to have that on my hands, or I didn't want to work with that intense of a stripper, so I just did the elbow grease. I did the work. But if you do look, there is one online that they mention. I don't know the name of it, but you can research it online. And if you get that, then definitely use it outside so that you're not breathing the fumes. I would use a face mask with it as well. This didn't really have fumes per se, but it did have an orangey, kind of funky smell that I wasn't really fond of. And I was very excited to be done using it. I did have the door open a lot of the time so that there was some airflow, and the overhead fan was on as well. So believe it or not, this is at 20 times normal speed. So I'm not really a slow person, but you know, it was a lot of work. And you can see I'm really trying hard to get that off. So the layer I'm doing exposed the black, and the black was a chalky water-based paint. So when I used the stripper, it got everywhere. Everything was black. It would dissolve right away. And the other layers, the white, the cream, the green was particularly hard. It was not an easy layer to get off. I used a lot of elbow grease, and in the end I ended up sanding a lot of it because I just didn't have the energy left after all this scraping 5 times on each surface. So I finally just took the sander and tried to make it as smooth as possible. So, you know, yes, there are multiple layers of paint, and if I had used the harder stripper, it would have been completely down to the wood. But it wasn't necessarily something that I needed to have completely stripped clean of all paint. I just wanted to get a lot of the thickness off of the paint so that you could see more of the detail in the wood. And you'll see later on that there was some scraping and chiseling of the paint closer to the detailing, and that way you could actually see more of it once I painted it again, because I did paint multiple layers back on it. I painted a primer, and you'll see that in the next video. And then I also painted a white coat, and then I'm pretty sure I painted white on top of the primer, but if I didn't, the primer was white, so it gave me a nice white surface to start painting the decoration with. But definitely check back for the next video. Here you can see the black paint kind of dissolve with that citrus stripper and kind of went all over the other colors. So it got quite messy there because of the nature of that particular paint. The scene looks like one I did before, and in editing, I had to go back and make sure it wasn't the exact same one. But this kind of gives you an idea of just how much work each surface was, because it looks a lot like the one from before, but it isn't. I double checked. So you can see that it's just layer upon layer. This part of it was obviously sanding, and if you're looking at it going, oh my god, I can't believe you're treating this so harshly. This unit was actually given to me by my landlord, and I call it unit because I honestly don't know if it's an armoire or a cabinet or what you would call it, so I'll just, a cabinet unit. But it was on the porch when she got it, and it had been left out with the weather on the porch and had mildew all over it, and I had actually dragged it out. Well, not literally dragged it out, but I did take it out to the front yard, not far from where I'm at right now, and I pressure washed the whole thing because it was pretty gross. And honestly, the back board of this is just some very cheap, I want to say it's almost the level of balsa, or it's not much more heavy duty than cardboard. So it was really, the back of it was not very well made. So the whole thing really was pretty much ready for the dump. But I have a way of collecting furniture like other people collect pets. And I don't know if you can see my cat in any of these shots, but I also collect pets. Anyway, the point is, this cabinet unit was pretty much old, gross, and really not worth a whole lot. So I decided to renovate it to the best of my ability, given the fact that it was free. It's a very cool piece of furniture sculpturally, but it was really not a great piece otherwise. So if you can look to the right, the cabinet drawer there on the lower right has handles on it. And the handles I took off for the most part. I think I have one handle left on the middle bottom because that has a lock and it is locked and I can't unlock it. And instead of trying to force it or stick my hand through the top part around there and get to it, I'm just leaving it locked. It's a great amount of storage space and I wish I could unlock it, but at this point I'm not going to worry about it. So I've basically got the 3 top drawers and I took the hardware off of them. I put new hardware on them, but I kept the original hardware in case I decide to get it back to its original, well, semi-original condition. And then I may put it on at a later time, but I do still have those. As you can see, there are a couple hot spots on this cabinet. One is the surface of the bottom half, and the other is the surface of the top half. So those seem to have gotten most of the work. Here I'm just wiping down with water some of the black that is water soluble so that I can get rid of some of that and get down to the paint surfaces underneath, and probably do a little bit more sanding later on. Here I'm using a bristle brush. It's kind of a metal bristle, and it helps get a lot of the little grooves that you can't reach otherwise clean. Here you'll see I've got some Mod Podge. that's actually kind of a glue, and I'm pretty sure I had it as a glue for this tiny little piece that broke off. And you can see I'm trying to clear out some of the debris and get that pasted back in. And since it's kind of just a thin glue, and I honestly could not find any other glues in this house, which is ironic because they're in that drawer just to the left of the vacuum. But anyway, I use that to put back a little bit of the fleur-de-lis on the left side of this piece, and so far it seems to be holding up. Here you can see I'm taking out some of the paint from this particular detail on the front. You couldn't actually see much detail. There's a nice little groove with kind of a bead of wood that goes through the center, and with this work right here, it's made it much more obvious, and with the paint on it, it gave it a little bit more detail, so it was worth it. I just kind of scraped the paint off at this point, kind of over a lot of the stripper, and just looking to get this piece done. Again, you can see just how much paint was on this, because as I'm chopping away at the front of this dresser, it was just coming off in chunks. Here I'm just vacuuming a bit of the extra crumbs and pieces of chipped paint that I knocked off. It's so much easier, and it makes a lot less mess actually when you use a vacuum. The drawers to the cabinets had these pieces of hardware, as you can see, so I'm working here to try and get that particular piece of hardware out, because it was going to be much easier to finish sanding and painting the surface without those fancy filigree handles. So this one, you can kind of see the bottom half has that keyhole and it has the fancy filigree on it, but I left that because it was attached to the keyhole and it was going to be a problem, I think, if I attempted to take that out, so I just left that one. Here I'm using a Phillips head screwdriver, believe it or not, to chip out some of the paint around the detail on this piece, and you can see a little bit closer the fleur-de-lis. And again, the paint was 5 layers thick, so it took some bit of elbow grease and some chipping, but it came off in chunks, so the wood, believe it or not, survived pretty well underneath with the detail, and it really revealed a lot more detail I was really excited to see.